Hi, I'm Kate and welcome to this beginner's introduction to Pilates. We're going to start off by looking at the 5 principles in Pilates, and the first one is breathing. So sitting tall, we're going to practice breathing in through the nose and then exhaling out through the mouth. I want you to be aware of the front, the back and the sides of the rib cage without lifting the shoulders, keeping the neck long. As you inhale, you're going to fill the base of the lungs with air, so you're not going to hold this high up in the chest. As you exhale, you're going to do this through pursed lips, feeling the core engage, and a bit like you have a corset around the waist, you're going to feel the rib cage get closer together, the abs contract, and an internal lift. This might not come naturally, so you might want to practice this a few times. Lying on your back, we're going to look at the next principle, which is the pelvic placement. You should be able to slide the tips of your fingers underneath your back to achieve what we call neutral spine. If the back is too arched, you'll be able to slide the whole hand, and this is too much. And if you're tilting the pelvis, you won't be able to slide the fingers under at all. Everybody's different, so you might just want to take a moment to work out where neutral spine will be for you. There should be no tension in the back, so there should be a nice comfortable position where the tips of the fingers can slide underneath. Pressing the spine into the floor is called imprinting, and this happens naturally when the legs are in tabletop, which we'll look at later. To help you find the placement of the pelvis, you might want to bring the fingers together and make a triangle, and then place your hands on your hips. If you're tucking the pelvis or arching the back, you'll notice this in the hands. So you want to keep the hands and the hips very still. We're going to try to move the leg without moving the pelvis. You should be able to move the legs independently. So whether that's opening the knee or lifting the leg, the pelvis is going to stay very still without opening or twisting or lifting. Let's practice opening each knee once and lifting each leg once each without moving the pelvis. So this movement is going to be very slow and still. Your hands on your hips, monitoring the placement of your pelvis, and keep your breathing nice and natural. You might want to practice this a few times to execute this movement with control and ease. Our third principle is the placement of the rib cage. It's important that you keep your rib cage closed, and so we can look at this by lifting the arms up and over the head, as this is where the rib cage is most likely to open. So we'll just practice a few times, sweeping the arms backwards over the head and then back down onto the floor, whilst keeping the rib cage closed. You'll notice that as you keep the rib cage closed, you naturally engage the core muscles. Lying on your side, the correct hip placement involves lengthening the waist. So instead of letting the waist drop down to the floor, you'll want to keep the hips stacked on top of each other. As you move the legs, you're going to keep the placement of the pelvis very still. Your alignment with the legs stretched will involve bringing the feet slightly forward so you can see them if you look down. And again, this feeling of lengthening through the waist and hips stacked on top of each other. If you bend your knees, make sure that your feet are directly underneath your hips, so not too far forwards or too far backwards. Our fourth principle is the shoulder blade movement and stabilization. So looking at the shoulders, you're going to want to make sure that the shoulders don't lift up and that we're not holding any tension around the neck. And so you'll notice that the lats are engaged when we do this. If you want, you might want to use a flat cushion or pillow or towel to rest underneath the forehead. Looking at the neck placement, we want to keep the neck nice and long, so you want to imagine a long line from the top of the head all the way down the neck and through the spine. So if you were to drop the forehead down or lift the chin up, you can see we no longer have this long line. You'll often hear the word tabletop, and this refers to a position of the legs making a right angle. So you don't want the knees too close to your body or too far away. Again, you don't want any tension in the back, and you should feel your abs engage. Well, that was a brief summary of the 5 principles in Pilates. We're now going to look at some beginner exercises. Let's start off by lying down on our mats, and we'll begin by looking at our alignment. So with the feet hip width apart, knees bent and pointing up to the ceiling, let's find neutral spine, first of all by arching the back and then tucking the hips and imprinting the spine into the floor. Let's rock again, arching and tucking, until you settle in neutral spine. If you want to check, slide the tips of the fingers underneath your back. Keep the shoulders down and the neck long. Feel free to place your hands on your hips, creating a triangle with the fingers. We're then going to open the knee out to the side, alternate with the other leg, and monitor the hips, making sure the pelvis stays still. Let's take a moment to practice our breathing. So breathing in, feel the lungs expand, the breath going to the base of the lungs. Exhale, feel the rib cage contract and the tummy button pull in towards the back of the spine. Let's repeat this a few more times so that you feel comfortable with this kind of breathing. Hands back down by your sides, and we're going to lift one leg, engaging the abs, and gently place the foot back down on the floor before repeating on the other side. If you want to combine this with the breath, you're going to inhale and then exhale as you lift the leg. Inhale as you place the foot down and exhale as you lift the other. We're going to continue a few more times. Keep an eye on the knees, making sure they're not opening out to the side. Your shoulders are down, your neck is long, your abs and core are engaged, and your rib cage is closed. This is a gentle exercise just to find our alignment and wake up the core. Now focusing on the rib cage, keeping your alignment, you're going to breathe in. And as you exhale, float the arms above your head, keeping the rib cage closed. Shoulders down and neck long. Lower the arms back down. We'll repeat this a few more times, combined with the breath. Again, you should notice that the core stays engaged throughout. Last one, and float the arms back down. Great, we're now going to look at some pelvic curls. So starting by tilting the pelvis up, imprinting the spine into your mat, you're going to hover the pelvis up gently and then roll back down. We're going to exhale as you lift the pelvis and inhale as you roll back down. You should really feel like you're articulating the spine as you do this, and we're going to increase the height gradually with each curl. Shoulders should be down, neck should be long, knees pointing up to the ceiling and feet hip width apart. So slowly getting higher and higher, going through each vertebra as you roll up and roll back down. Exhale, go a little higher now. And we're going to make a long line from our knees all the way to our shoulders. You should feel like your pelvis is tilting towards your navel, like you're scooping the tailbone. Pelvic curls or pelvic rolls are a great way to wake up the spine, articulate the back, and engage the core. It's also a fantastic exercise if you're working on your posture. We're just going to do 2 more here to finish up. Breathe in. Exhale through pursed lips. No tension in the neck and shoulders. And exhale as you roll back down. And relax. We're now going to do some abdominal curls. So placing your hands behind the base of your skull, elbows wide apart. Inhale through the nose. And exhale as you engage the abs and lift the shoulder blades off the floor. Then roll back down. We're going to repeat this a few more times. You should keep your elbows wide, so you should be able to see them in your peripheral vision. And you should feel like the tummy button is pressing to the back of your spine as you engage them and curl up. You shouldn't be pulling on your neck, as the movement should be activated from the abs rather than pulling up with the arms. Keep the breathing going and check in with the legs and making sure that the knees are facing up to the ceiling and feet are hip width apart. We're now going to work on the obliques. So with one hand behind the head and the other arm extended, we're going to curl up with a twist, feeling like the fingers are reaching towards your heel, or you could imagine your rib cage is reaching towards your hip bone, and then roll back down. So exhaling as you execute the movement, and inhaling as you roll back down. Keep the rib cage closed, the shoulders down, and the neck nice and long. Supporting the head lightly with your hand. We're going to do a few more. You should do this ab curl slowly and with control. And now switching over to the other side. So breathing in. And exhale as you curl up, twisting to the side, lifting one shoulder blade off the floor. Feel like your rib cage is reaching towards your hip bone. And roll back down. And again, combining with the breath, keep the neck long, no tension in the shoulders. And one last one. Great. Now rolling onto your side, we're going to do some clams. So with one arm under your head, the other arm in front of you to stabilize you, knees bent and feet directly under the hips. You want to make sure that you've lengthened through the waist. So stacking the hips on top of each other, we're then going to open the top knee without the hips rolling back, and then close, keeping the feet pressing together. We're going to do 8 of these. Clams are a great exercise for increasing the mobility in your hips as well as strengthening the glutes. If you are a dancer, this is a fantastic exercise to increase your turnout. And one last one to finish. Now extending the leg, we're going to do some single leg lifts. So lifting the leg up above the hips and then lowering back down until the foot is in line with your hip bone. Off we go. We're going to do 10 of these. And relax. Now moving on to your other side, we're going to repeat our clams and our leg lifts. So take a moment to find your alignment, head resting on your lower arm, top arm supporting you, lengthening through the waist, hips stacked on top of each other, and off we go with 10 clams, keeping the hips very still. Now extending the leg, and we'll do 10 leg lifts. The movement should be quite small here. It's about control and placement. And relax. Now moving on to your front, for our penultimate exercise, we're going to strengthen the back. So hands under your forehead, or you can place a small towel if you prefer. You're going to extend one arm in front of you, and you're going to lift the opposite arm and leg off the floor, keeping the head down. We're going to do 8 of these. Try to move the arm and leg at the same time. We're not looking for height in this exercise. As always, we're looking for control and placement. Keep the shoulders down so that the lats are engaged and the neck nice and long. You shouldn't feel any tension during this exercise. Last one, and relax. Now swap over, and we'll repeat this on the other side. So extend the other arm, and off we go with 8. Now for our last exercise, we're going to do some upper back raises. So with your arms to the side, forearms flat on the floor, keeping the neck long, you're going to lift the upper body off the floor, keeping a long line from the top of your head to your shoulders, and lower back down gently. Make sure that the legs don't lift off the floor when you do this. This should be very slow and combined with the breath. So exhale as you lift up, inhale as you lower back down. We're going to do 4 of these. Last one. Keep the neck long, shoulders down, and relax. Push back into child's pose. So sit on your heels with your knees open, reaching your fingers forwards and your head down on the floor. This is a great stretch for the back. Sitting up, we're going to finish with a stretch to wind down. Bring one arm up and over, stretching to the side. Curl forward, tuck the chin into your chest and sit up straight. Breathe in and exhale as we repeat to the other side, curving the spine and sitting up tall. Well, I hope you enjoyed this introduction to Pilates. Don't forget to check out my other videos, and thanks for watching.